spend more time playing fetch with the dog than doing anything. But I'm out here messing with the Trans Am shifter. So what I'm going to do, see, the shifter had these in the front. It pulled them right out. So actually right in the back of these is a big brace. So I'm going to use a nut and a bolt with a big washer down there that's going to overlap on that brace. And yeah, I'm just going to use a nut and bolt in the front. And then the back, what happens is he had those in the back and I ripped them out. Where it bolts right there, I ripped them out because the transmission drive shaft loop was there, so I had to rip those out because it was interfering with the drive shaft loop. Well, what I'm going to do in the back here, I'm just going to drill and tap the drive shaft loop and just use long enough bolts to where nothing's sticking out on the other side of the drive shaft loop. So that's going to fix that. I just got to start the bolt from the bottom on this one. And I'm using washers to space it out so the shifter stays straight. But yeah, once I get that in there where that washer's on the bottom, it hollowed out that hole where them bolts go, but you know, the bracket's not going to fit through there. Plus this side I'm using washers anyway because it's got to be higher on this side to get the shifter straight. And then yeah, just drill and tap bolts back here and done. That'll fix that. And that's the nut and washer combination that I'm using right there on the bottom. And there's a brace that goes right through here, and half that washer, I grabbed that brace, plus it wouldn't even matter because that big washer ain't going to pull through there. If you pull that big washer through there, you're doing something, but that should hold. And here's what I wound up with down here. I gotta take my scripts off. But yeah, there's plenty of room there for all that. And then I'll drill and tap back here. And there's plenty of room there for them to stick out a little bit if they do. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I think that'll work fine. Alright, not sure how good y'all can see that or not, but that threaded part, that's the drive shaft loop. It's right up against the tunnel. So I already tapped that one, 5/16-18 thread, and then a 7/32 drill bit. Drilled and tapped it out. I put that nut in there. That drive shaft loop is as thick as a nut, so it'll hold that great. That shifter ain't gonna go nowhere now. But this one does have a little space in it, so I'll probably put a couple of washers in between there. And then yeah, that shifter ain't going nowhere now. And then I'm gonna fit the seat for my fat butt. And there we go. All done. And I use short bolts. You want to make sure your bolts ain't too long that it goes all the way down and hits your drive shaft. But yeah, those are really short. I bet if I got under the car, they wouldn't be sticking out, but maybe 1/8 of an inch, I guarantee it. But yeah, that thing is not going nowhere. Alright, I got the seat glued back. There's plenty of room there, my big fat belly. It looks like it's touching, but it's not. Yeah. It's just my clothes sticking up. And yeah, I can floor it. Actually, I can reach the pedal really good. Wow! Break. But and I got the steering wheel tilted down and everything. I could even tilt it up higher if I wanted to. But yeah, we'd want her about right there. Right there. Oh, oh. Right there. Because where we got this tack at If you got it up too high, your hand hits the tack. Actually, that would clear there too, but I like it just a little bit lower than that. Right there. Now I tell you what, I don't even have the Kirky seat cover on. It's sitting over here. And this seat's comfortable, man. It fits my big fat butt pretty good. It'll probably be pretty snug once I get the seat cover back in it. But yes, that works for me. And that's a whole lot easier to get in and out of. Yeah, there's where Chris had his marks. And then there's the bolt. I just got the bolts chilling in there for right now. We'll go ahead and put the nut back on it and put the seat cover on it, because I want to drive it around and test it some. To move that, I mean, it don't take 10 minutes. It's only 4 bolts. Take the bolts out, move it forward or back, put them back in. But yeah, looks good. Next thing on the list, I'm gonna get this bolted in, get the seat cover on it, is tomorrow. I went out to eat after work today, and so it's kind of late, a little late already. So tomorrow, I'm gonna use that Mountain Dew bottle right here. I got tape on the end of it because I think it's got air in it, because it did get, it felt like it was warm enough to kick the fans on. It was definitely warm enough to make the gauge move, I thought. But when I did start pulling it in the garage from the last video, it did start to read. Maybe it's just that cold out. But yeah, I stick that down in there like a pair, good night tight seal. And then I'm gonna plug this, because that doesn't seal this good enough and it comes out here. So I'll just pull this off and get a rubber cap for that, or just a rubber hose with a bolt in it, so none comes out there. That's how I accidentally filled up the overflow too much. And then you just fill this up with water. I put more antifreeze in it than I should. You're supposed to mix it 50-50. And I did that for a reason, because when I put this water in here, it's going to mix, and some of it, yeah. And that should give me about a 50-50. But yeah, that'll be the next video. And also, after we get it burped and everything, I test drive it, and then just wire loom all this stuff. And this thing's about ready. See, and the reason we do this, I don't know if I mentioned that or not. When you fill this up with water, it makes it the highest point. And that's what you want, because the air is going to try to find a way to get out, but it wants to make it to the highest point. So that's why we do that. We fill that up with water. So the highest point typically is right here. And we could put a bleeder on there, and you can crack a bleeder and get the air out at the highest point, or you can do this. And when I do this, I'll squeeze the hoses as the car runs, and it'll eventually get all the air out. And the seat's in and bolted down. And that's gonna do it for today. I don't want to start the car this late. It ain't that late, but where it gets dark so early, it confuses me. But I don't want to start on that, because the car is going to be running a little while. I think I'm done working on it for today. But tomorrow, as soon as I get off work, it's still daylight out, so I can see what I'm doing. Fill that up with water, back it out. We'll back it out and burp the coolant. And then once the coolant's burped, we'll take it for a ride and test the trans brake out on the street. Whoop, whoop. See y'all tomorrow.